happening, guys? My name is Jamie and today we are reviewing Unleash the Archer's new album Apex. No, it's The Abyss, and this is from Napalm Records, and it was just released a few days ago. And you know what? This album is an absolute ride. It really is. Continuing the story about the immortal and the matriarch and everything like that, it's just a continuation of this epic story that we had throughout Apex. But in this album, it's all about the immortal and the matriarch again. And they go through a whole adventure, and it's absolutely an incredible ride. Not going to spoil what the story is about for you guys, but I tell you what, the story on this album is fucking fantastic. Unleash the Archer's sound has changed. Where Apex was much more of a darker, gloomy, and it was more heavier, this album feels more airy, incorporating elements of synths, and it feels more embellished with guitars. Wrong, Apex was an absolutely fucking fantastic album with a brilliant story, but on this album, the sound on this album has completely changed. Although it still sounds like Unleash the Archers with Britney's vocals absolutely slaying the whole entire record, you have also some synth moments throughout this album that just makes this album feel very light in tone compared to Apex. But that overall to me represents where this story is heading, since all the story is held in the cosmos. But this album sounds like it's in the cosmos, and no doubt it's in the cosmos because this story is held up in space. Sonically, it's a pretty good album, and the production on this album is absolutely fantastic. I love the tone of the drums, really enjoy the guitar moments. The vocal mixing is absolutely brilliant, along with the overall mixing and balancing within the instrumentals. What I would have liked was the bass to be a little bit higher up in the mix, just to hear a little bit of the bass. But that is one criticism of the album, where the bass was nearly inaudible. I like to hear bass in my music, and you did hear a bit of bass within the mix, but I would like the bass to be a little bit higher up. Production aside, this album is an absolute banger. Some amazing songs like The Abyss, Through Stars, which is a very rocky 80s vibe. Along with Legacy, Return to Me, which is a much more heavier sounding Unleash the Archers. You got songs like Soulbound with those aggressive and harsh hitting vocals as well. Britney's vocals on this album are absolutely fucking fantastic. I love her dynamic range, really love her high falsetto, and she really shines throughout that song Faster Than Light. Her vocal performance on that fucking song is absolutely magnificent. When you just hear her high range, when you hear how high Britney can go, it's just absolutely amazing. Drumming, especially with those drum fills throughout Afterlife, throughout Legacy, Return to Me, absolutely fantastic. I love the different time signatures throughout some of these songs, making it quite progressive, especially through the song Through Stars, which sound very similar to something out of Dream Theater. Through Stars definitely is a proggy sort of song, but you get songs like Return to Me, which has elements of that melodic death style. Not just power metal, this album, it also dabbles with melodic death and even black metal elements, especially some guitar riffs, and the vocal style, those harsh vocals are absolutely incredible. I love the harsh vocals throughout this album, just intensifying your journey as you're listening, and overall it's such a really tight and cohesive album. One criticism I can give you is Carry the Flame. Carry the Flame is quite melodic, and it's got a good groove, and it's got an absolutely one of the best guitar solos off the album, but I just feel that the song doesn't really flow that well. It's a lot slower, and at times I get bored listening to it. And that's just one criticism. Carry the Flame is the weakest song off the album, but you do get such an amazing solo. I just feel that the chorus is very weak in terms of the verses, and that's probably one fucking criticism I can give you for this album. But the final track, Afterlife, holy fucking shit, it's even got some Nightwish inspired moments, especially with orchestral elements. This is the most epic song off the album, and it's a great fucking closer to end off the album with some shreddy guitar work, with some amazing drum work as well, along with Britney's vocals, absolutely intense at times. I do love her dynamic range throughout this song, which overall intensifies the song into the next level. It's a really tight and cohesive album with such an epic story to explore. Now don't get me wrong, I'm still trying to figure out what the story is actually about since I've only heard the album a few times. Sonically, it's absolutely fantastic. I don't think it's as good as Apex in my opinion, but you know what? Apex and Abyss are very different to each other. Got the same sort of characters and everything like that, but it's got a different sound. Where Apex was a lot heavier, a lot grittier. This one's a lot lighter in tone, but more spacey and ethereal in atmosphere. And I do love how these songs are quite atmospheric at times. It's a really intense album overall. And man, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. I was very impressed with this album. Did it get to my expectations? Not too sure yet. I think it's going to take me a while to actually grow this album, but at the moment it's probably sitting in my second place for the best albums of the month. But it's a solid 8 out of 10 it gets. Comment below what you thought about this album. And yeah, do you agree with my opinion? Do you think that this is better than Apex? I do love the way it ends. So epic and ethereal in tone. It's such a really enjoyable album, so go fucking check it out. And I will see you in the next one.